This episode of The Bill and Callie Show is brought to you by Ray's Movers and Self-Storage, offering storage solutions and all your moving needs. Primitive Peddler, where unique gifts, country decor, and warm welcomes abound.
Hello everybody, welcome to the Bill and Kelly Show, coming to you from Wildrose Brewing in Griffith, Indiana. And Kelly is really sporting that Wildrose t-shirt real well. So what we'd like to do is welcome Michael Puente with us again. He's almost taken a permanent seat here at the Bill and Kelly Show. So yeah, welcome. We invited him on for a very special reason. Michael has recently won 2 prestigious awards here recently, locally. Michael, kind of jump in if I don't get these correct.
Okay.
You won the Indiana AP Broadcasters Association Award and the Chicago Headliners Club Award for Best Radio Reporter.
Yeah, for both organizations.
For both organizations in both states, which is unheard of. Everyone knows, because I'm your biggest fan. I pull over to the side of the road when you come on the air and okay, hold it, I've got to concentrate. Michael's on the air. Yeah, and so congratulations.
Thank you very much.
It's amazing. I thought it's well overdue, well deserved, definitely. I've got to say this, I enjoy so much when you tell a story on the air. It is like you get transported to being in that room with you. I really think there's some awards due on the one that you did about the blind boxer.
That might be next year.
that was amazing. And you do it in such a way that you do it in 2 or 3 sentences, and you feel like, boom, you're there. So, congratulations. We do have something for you.
Well, I think we may have given you a Bill and Kelly Show mug.
Have we?
Well, I have one in Crown Point at my office, in my bureau. That'll go up at my desk at Navy Pier.
Perfect. Well, get this mug and a lovely
Did you lift the one that you had?
Cards.
Did you steal it?
What's that?
Did you steal the one you had, or we gave it to you?
Oh, you gave it to me.
I thought we had, but...
If you give me more street cred to say I stole it, I'll say
you reporters.
Thank you.
I've got a question. You know what I'm saying?
A little something for ice cream at Aberweiss.
Oh,
because yum,
nice.
Hello, baby.
Awesome.
So
Good
cool.
stuff.
Nice.
So you're going to take that to the Navy Pier studio.
I'll take it to my desk at Navy Pier, and they'll be like, "Who's the Bill and Kaylee Show?" And I'm like, "You got to tune in."
Exactly. It's got the web
Best
address
show in
on
Northwest
there.
Indiana.
You got it.
Can you say that again a little bit?
Best show in Northwest Indiana.
Awesome. You heard it here from the 2-state best
Award
radio reporter.
Yes.
There you go, folks. So,
thank you, Bill.
Well, thank you for coming on and allowing us to celebrate with you.
Yes.
It's a great accomplishment. And what I thought we would do is go over your career for people who don't know you.
Where have you been?
Heard you before, who they don't. Where have you been?
Yeah,
Seriously?
exactly.
I mean, so Michael, you're with WBEZ, which is the NPR affiliate here in Chicago. Mm-hmm. So you want to tell us how you got there?
Well, I've been there now. Let's see. I was born.
Dan, right? No.
Get to the good part.
Yeah.
Okay, all right.
And we know how to physically get there.
Well, I've been with BZ now for, I want to say, 13 years. 2006, so whatever it adds up to now, I think it's 13 years. And I primarily cover Northwest Indiana, but also Chicago, and it's been more Chicago lately. That's hence the award, because it's probably running 50%. Last year it probably was running more 75% in Illinois and the rest Indiana. It varies sometimes. We've had changes in the newsroom and directions. So when you're at a news organization that long, you get different priorities over time. So you just got to go with the flow. But I started there in 2006. I was writing for the Daily Herald, but most people in Northwest Indiana probably know me from my days with the Post-Tribune. I was with them for 11 years, covering all kind of areas of Northwest Indiana, the courts, politics, East Chicago, Gary, you name it, I covered it. And
so you were what they called the beat reporter.
Oh yeah, I was a beat reporter. In fact, for like about 6 or 7 years, I covered primarily federal court and the criminal courts in Crown Point. And then I switched over a little bit, covering more East Chicago politics. And I wrapped up I think for like the last year of my career there, I was covering Gary primarily. And I've been a reporter since 1992 when I graduated. Wow. So it's been a long time now, and but I still really enjoy it.
Where'd you go to school?
Well, I started off at Indiana University. I finished my degree at Calumet College in St. Joseph in Whiting, where I teach now. I've been teaching there for 10 years, and it's I think it's a great school. I know it's small in terms of student body, but to me the professors there are they're really dedicated. I think it's like Northwest Indiana's best kept secret. I really do. They've got, I think half of their student body is not even from Northwest Indiana. That before, when I was going there, it was mostly an older student body, people who were going to night school. I wasn't in that category, but now they got a lot of I had students from California, Florida. I had a couple of students already from Australia, Philippines. A couple of students who were natives of Cuba and Canada, obviously. And you're wondering, like, why are they coming to Northwest Indiana in this small school? Well, they get a lot of scholarships. It's close to Chicago. Depending on what they go into, it is a good school, and they do some good work there. And I tell you what, I love teaching there. And this year I had a small radio class. We did some podcasting. About five students. But they were just amazing. They were just amazing, and I learned from them actually. And some of them are going to be graduating, and I tear up because I look at them as my kids. I'm so proud of them, and so I love teaching. I love this area, and I love being a reporter.
Great. So talking about being a reporter, some interesting stuff happening up in Chicago. Lightfoot took over.
That's right.
Manual.
Lori Lightfoot,
Yeah, and it's interesting. The platform she ran on, a lot of people were accusing her of being a closet Republican. And of course, still because she went into Washington, and who did she get a picture taken with is Ivanka Trump. And so, but you listen to her inaugural address, and it is a total progressive platform. So you being a reporter in here, what are your thoughts on it? What do you view as a reporter? What's going on?
She probably does lean towards more Republican, and I think before we started the show, I was telling you that if Chicago doesn't run on party lines, it's sort of open. So they don't have a primary and general election like we do over here. It's whoever gets in, and then they'll have a runoff depending if nobody reaches over 50%. The top two finishers are in a runoff. So that's what happened in this case. And I think if they run under party labels, she probably wouldn't have won. But considering she is somewhat of a novice, when she was on the Chicago Police Review Board, I mean, she really took command of that, and she was kind of at odds with Mayor Emanuel. And I think people there saw hey, we may have a making of a leader over here. Then when she took on Preckwinkle, I've covered her a little bit, and she kind of portrayed herself as an outsider, or or not an outsider, but not part of the machine, where she's head of the Cook County Democratic Party. You can't get any more part of the machine. So she was trying to have it both ways. And people saw right through it. Now, in terms of going to Washington and meeting with Ivanka, here's the thing. Chicago is the third largest city in the country. We know that. It's really hard to be always at odds with the President of the United States. I mean, as difficult of a time that we are going now in the country, people are very divided, I get it, but whatever you can do to make your city better, obviously there are things Chicago has that it's still going to be a tough pill to swallow for someone like a Donald Trump, because it is an unabashed, very proud sanctuary city. And that is not going to change. But beyond that, what can the federal government do? You'd think that Donald Trump would not want to hurt the third largest city in the country. It's the economy, it's jobs. A lot of Republicans actually depend on jobs in Chicago, even the ones that live in the suburbs. They commuted to Chicago. They got those high-paying jobs, so they want to see that well-oiled machine keep going. So it behooves her to go to Washington and try to meet with everybody, and just try to get along. And where you have differences, you have differences. Where you can come together.
If you can't talk about it, nothing's going to change.
Right. Well, maybe us as the press can't, but observers, political observers, you have the luxury of being able to be like, don't talk to Trump and everything. Politicians really, they don't have that luxury. They got to play with those who are in power. And like even today in Washington, obviously there was supposed to be a big meeting between Democrats and the president about infrastructure. House Speaker Pelosi said something about Trump being a cover-up. He didn't like that. So I'm kind of thinking, look, how do you move things forward? I think they can continue to do whatever investigation they want, and can you still try to work with this guy? Or is it that broken that it's like, we can't work with him? And then nothing gets done. I mean, bridges and roads are falling apart. You need money. You need money for transit. You need money for all kind of things. Republicans drive on those, roads. Democrats drive on them. People who don't vote. So you need activity done. But if nothing's happening, where does that leave everybody's seats?
Well, it is a complex issue right now because the House Democrats are now applying more pressure to Pelosi than they ever have for an impeachment proceedings. So I think at both ends there are some heated debate. And Trump has been known for his negotiation techniques. And, is this another ploy of his to just put up a smokescreen?
Yeah, the problem with that is, though, look, he's a billionaire, I'm not, but some of the tactics he's had in business, they're not going to work in this setting, especially now that people are really understanding his tactics. Playing that game is not going to work in Washington, D.C., and he needs to play ball, and he doesn't want to. They both gotta play ball. But
we just lock him in a room and say nobody can leave until you get along.
But he's got to see, though, that Pelosi is going to stand her ground too, and the both sides have to come together. But at the same time, if he continues to obstruct, he's saying, like even today, that he's the most his administration has been the most open out of all of them. He really hasn't been.
No.
He really hasn't been. So they're still pushing to get his tax returns. And people might say, why? Well, you know what? He says he's under audit. The more you hold on to it, the more they're going to want to see it. Every presidential candidate has released their taxes. And that's just how it's been. Now some states are passing laws to say, hey, if you want to run in our state, you gotta submit 5 years of your tax returns, because we want to see where you got your money from, if you paid your fair share. I mean, it's already come out that for several years he didn't pay any taxes. He lost more money than any taxpayer in America.
Billions.
And he's saying that it was just write-offs, and he's blowing it off. But hey, if you're not paying any taxes, I mean, some people might say it's okay. He's a businessman. He's taking advantage of the laws. I get that. We all try to do, but not to pay any tax, and you're making that much. So maybe he's afraid of that. But the more he's held on to it, let's say if he submitted them way at the beginning of his campaign, nobody would have thought anything. It would have been a non-issue. I still think we're at a point where it doesn't matter what happens. His supporters are with him no matter what.
Yeah.
But if you're talking about upholding the rule of law, it's almost like Democrats have no choice but to go through impeachment hearings because he's been so blatant about it. But, who's to say? If they're going to do it, I hope it's for, I know it's kind of hard to say this, I hope it's for legitimate reasons and not just for political reasons, meaning, because you're always hearing, well, should they do it? Does it play well for 2020? That shouldn't matter. It should just be, well, if you think he did something that's impeachable, go after it. And that should be the only consideration. I'm not saying they should or will, but it looks like they're heading that way.
And you do get a sense the game that he is trying to play is take a lot of these issues to the Supreme Court. Just recently,
and hold it up in the courts.
And hold up in the courts. And just recently, the court has ruled that the Congress does have validity in asking for his returns. So, again, he has a right to appeal that, and he has the ability to appeal it with his staff of lawyers that changes with the barometric pressure.
Here's the thing. They already appointed 2 justices to the Supreme Court. People think that might help him, I mean. But you do have Chief Justice John Roberts, who has said already, listen, we don't have Obama judges and we don't have Trump judges. We have judges. And when the Chief Justice says things like that, and he was Republican appointed, that to me is a message even to his own justices. You got to go with the law, not with who appointed you. And it's a lifetime appointment, so if it doesn't come back good for Trump, he's going to bash him. But hey, that's how the system is,
But getting back to local news here, so we've got the new mayor in Chicago. How do you think that fares well with the Northwest Indiana area? What do you think her relationship is going to be specifically with the Gary Chicago Airport? And because Rob Emanuel has not been really kind to Northwest Indiana, do you think there's going to be more of an outreach?
There could be. The only difference is that, obviously when you think of Northwest Indiana, when it comes to Chicago, you're thinking about Gary. For some reason, they always skip over Hammond. But I don't know why that is. So Gary's going to be getting a new mayor. So when I actually on election night, I spoke to Karen Freeman Wilson, and I said if he had a chance to talk to Lori Lightfoot, she goes, well, I got to go up there to talk. I don't think they know each other. And you might think, well, Northwest Indiana is not part of Chicago. What does Chicago care about Northwest Indiana? Well, here's the thing. Chicago has an agreement in providing money to the Gary Chicago Airport. They provide more than right around $3 million a year in fees to Gary Airport to help run it. They provide expertise. They're a major part of running the Gary Chicago Airport. You've got things when Rahm Emanuel, when he was in office, anytime U.S. Steel was dumping into Lake Michigan, he was very forceful about it. I got to give him credit for that. For him, even more forceful than our own elected politicians. Sometimes it's been the Chicago politicians who have actually come to the defense of the environment in Northwest Indiana. Just because our politicians, it's their own backyard, I get it, but they sometimes got to depend on U.S. Steel for contributions or whatever, business entities. So Rob Emanuel was tough on that. Is she going to be tough on that too? What about in terms of casino gambling? We know Chicago may want to get one. Where are they going to put it? Depending on where they put it, could have a direct effect on the casino operations in Northwest Indiana, on the Hammond boat. So while McDermott had issue with Gary moving its casino eventually, he may have a bigger concern if Chicago puts it close to his boat in Hammond. Could sink it. Maybe not. I mean, these companies are very savvy. You're not going to put $500 million in an operation, and then somebody else comes along and opens up a casino and you're just going to shiver. You're going to be like, no, we're going to fight. We're going to offer something that even they can't. I'm not a big gambler, but when you talk to gamblers, they'll tell you the differences between the Indiana boats and the Illinois boats. They'll also tell you the differences between the Indiana boats. Go here for this, go there for that.
What's the better buffet?
Well, I've been to the Hammond one. I tell you what, it's really good.
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
Oh, boy. Yeah, East Chicago and Hammond. Oh, man. So, Lightfoot does not have any easy task ahead of her. When she is taken seat in probably one of the most crime-ridden communities in the United States. Gun violence is up, and also the other thing is that it's a moving target. She keeps on telling people the numbers that were released about the deficit are not the whole story. It could be a lot worse than what was released in the previous administration. So, my gosh, it seems to me like she would want to open up avenues to Trump and to other how unconventional resources to help out with that city.
Well, yeah, and Chicago, remember, they keep leading residents out of that city. And you might say, oh, well, they only lost several thousand here and there. That's taxpayer money. That's, it's hard to set your budgets if people are constantly moving out. But if you're living in areas that, doesn't have much investment, high crime, poor schools. Here's the thing. We do know a lot of Chicagoans are moving to Northwest Indiana. Now, if you're living in downtown, the Northwest Side, Lincoln Park, Northwest Indiana seems like light years away. And why would you even move there from beautiful Lincoln Park? We're not talking about those people. We're talking about people on the south side, on the southeast side, in Hegewisch, in areas that have not been historically most development. Those are the people that are leaving to places like Cherville, Dyer, Crown Point, Valparaiso, and saying, hey, look, I've always told people this in Chicago that I really don't think it's a loss for Chicago when somebody moves across to the Indiana state line, because they're still going to go to Chicago, they're still going to pay taxes for tourism, travel. It's when they leave outside of the metropolitan area where not only Chicago loses, but Northwest Indiana loses, because we're not getting anything. They've gone to Florida, or they've gone to wherever. Those are the areas that Chicago's competing with right now. And then, I tell you what, the three-letter dirty word, and I just said this at a function in Chicago last week to a group of people that they don't seem to get, is the word tax. You got Governor Pritzker now who wants to tax everything. And that drives people away. It really does. I don't care how progressive it is. It's like, okay, we're going to tax bottles, or we're going to tax plastic bags, and the poor people have to buy those too. They're going to be taxed. So some people might just be saying, oh, the hell with it. I'm going to go to Indiana where they have property tax caps. Yeah, now over here, there are drawbacks to that. Hammond is feeling that with its schools. But if you're a homeowner, you say, wait a minute, my taxes are capped at 1% of the valuation. I may go to Indiana, but we'll see,
Well, and of course, Pritzker has also tried to reform the Illinois state tax.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if that's too little too late or what. It seems like there's still quite an influx moving over to escape the taxes.
Well, here's the thing. No matter what taxes they do in Illinois, the one thing that it's going to be really hard for them to grapple with is their pension debt. And here's the thing, they can make any fixes if it doesn't clear the muster, because it's in the Constitution, the Illinois Constitution, that you can't make any changes to it. So unless they make fundamental changes to their Constitution, they're never going to be able to get out from under that. That's always going to pull them down, no matter how much more revenue they bring in, and no matter how much revenue or how much expenses they pull down. Now, they just recently had a big tax windfall, so he's able to pay down some of the bills and some of the pension debt more than he thought he would. So that might be pretty good for Illinois, but they just have a structural problem with funding those pensions, and so does Indiana, but not as bad.
The other thing Lightfoot has gone in and she ran on a platform, of course, under Emmanuel, and you're going to have to help me out here. There was a neighborhood in the north that they were using TIP funds to develop infrastructure, and it was one of those affluent neighborhoods.
For like the Lincoln Yards area?
The Lincoln Yards. And so one of the downsides of that is you have all these impoverished areas who are in desperate need of infrastructure, and again, but they decided to go ahead and develop and promote a higher affluent area. Do you think she's going to be able to balance that out? I mean, she does have a new city council. Well, not a new city council, but some seats have changed.
Well, I think the problem with TIFs is that a lot of people don't really know exactly how they're structured, how they're paid out. It's funny that I've been dealing with the term TIFs ever since I was a Cub reporter. I'm not kidding. My first time hearing about the word TIF was when I used to
Cub reporter?
Yeah, when I was a tiny reporter.
Okay,
Cub reporter.
All right.
A Cub reporter is
I thought you didn't like to use the word Cub.
Oh, yeah. Well, not a Chicago Cub reporter, but a baby reporter out of school.
There you go.
I used to cover the town of Dyer, believe it or not. And I used to cover the town of Dyer, Dyer Town Council with Rick Eberly and Bill. I think it was Bill Eberly, his father, long time ago. And they would bring up the word TIF. I'm like, what the heck is a TIF? So I've been dealing with that for a long time. And some places use it differently, but basically it's like whatever investment in that area, when the property goes up in value, instead of that extra money going towards the general area, it stays in that area to help with the infrastructure and everything like that. But in some places, that money has been mismanaged. It hasn't always been used for what the purposes are. So there needs to be more education about that. But I do think she wants to portray herself as Chicago is open for business. And, the thing about Chicago that they don't have to really deal with too much in Gary, but you will pretty soon, depending on where this Gary casino moves to, is the term gentrification. When areas get better, property values go up and people get pushed out, that's really hard to balance. Especially they're talking about in the Jackson Park area with the building of the Obama Presidential Library. Okay. So in terms of, the thing that you don't have to worry too much in Northwest Indiana about things like gentrification, they got to worry about that in Chicago. That's where an area gets, redeveloped, and the property values go up. That can push some people out. There's concern about that all over the city. I'm not sure how you go about it. Even like in areas like on the south side, near Jackson Park, where they want to build the Obama Presidential Library, people around there are kind of like, hey man, we don't want to be, pushed out of our neighborhood because of this presidential library. And wouldn't that be something for a man like Obama, who was a community builder in the south side of Chicago, to have his presidential library actually push out the very people that he helped? I don't think he wants that. But at the same time, this is a great opportunity for Chicago to have a presidential center. But how do you balance that? How do you balance people who are there now, who were, once a development goes in, the property values go up, and they may get pushed out? They think about that in all areas of Chicago, primarily, of course, on the west side and the south side, where they want more development. I keep going back. I hate to say this. It probably doesn't apply to it, but I'm a big comic book movie fan.
Oh, yeah.
And I keep going back to this phrase from the Avengers Age of Ultron, where Ultron says, you want to help the world, but you don't want it to change. So it's like, well, they want to help Chicago, but in some areas you don't want it to change. And how do you help something if you don't want it to change it? So it's a balancing act.
Yeah, it is. Well, Michael, we're running out of time here, although we think we could go for another hour easily.
Let's do it. We got the chips here, we got the Coke, we got the beer.
Yeah, by the way, look at this. What other set do you have? We got chips, beer, pop, everything. We got everything. We got the Bill Kelly.
You guys have bestowed a lot of accolades on me and nice things. I got to say, you guys are amazing. No matter where I go in my career, if it keeps going up or if it hits rock bottom, I'm still going to come here. So if I'm not working and I'm unshowered and have a beard, I'm going to still come on.
Good.
But if I keep climbing higher, I'll still come on.
Just try to shower before you come in and sit next to me.
But I'll put out some cologne. But I do love coming on here because it's a chance for me to be something that I don't normally do. Just kind of talk off the top of my head. We're always dealing with scripts and all this stuff. This is a time for my brain just to kind of relax a little bit and have a little fun. So that's why I enjoy coming on.
Yeah, that's why we love having you here. Just time for you to sit back and talk unscripted. That's what we do, right, Kelly?
That's right.
Man, we really appreciate you coming and visiting with us. We really do.
I'm sure you got a lot of visitors saying, or like viewers saying, who's this guy? I've never heard of him. Well, listen to WBEZ and you'll hear him.
That's right.
Exactly. Come on now. See, usually when they say that, really?
From Northwest Indiana, right here on
another show
WBEZ.
we need to do is the future radio and media, and that's changing entirely. But we could stay here till midnight. I'm sure your wife and kids would appreciate that. So
they're at Steak and Shake. Grace, Stephanie, and Jessica. They're having a good time without me. So.
Oh man, they did take you. Oh boy, you did give up something to come here. Well, we appreciate it, and again, congratulations.
Thank you.
Boy, we're honored to have you here. And
honored to be here.
By all means. And with that, we'll just close out the show. Thank you, Michael, and thank you for tuning in. And have a great rest of the week and weekend. Goodbye for now.
This episode of The Bill and Callie Show is brought to you by Ray's Movers and Self-Storage, offering storage solutions and all your moving needs. Primitive Peddler, where unique gifts, country decor, and warm welcomes abound.